Alright, so starting from the front headlock position in a chin strap on the same side, as if he were to have taken a shot. He comes into my leg, I block, sprawl, heavy, chin strap, control the tricep. We got 3 points of contact, a knee, foot, active toes, and a dry foot, tricep control, and my chin strap, all of which controls different directions of movement for him. Tricep control, whether it's inside or outside, will control rotational movement. So as he starts to circle, I can control a little bit of his direction and slow him down a little bit with the tricep. Chin strap is controlling his forward and backwards movement, and then the shoulder pressure over top of the back of his neck is preventing him from bringing and being able to push up as easy as he normally would. So as he goes to push up, I can just extend my knee side down, puts the weight down, drives my opponent down into the mat. So from the front headlock position, I should be able to keep my weight down, control him, use my 3 points of contact. So if he starts to move, I can just follow and I can stay in line with him. So circle, if he starts to circle, I can follow him everywhere he goes. If I need to break him down a little bit more, I can take the monkey paw that's deep inside the tricep and start to open his arm a little bit. So as he goes to pull his elbow back, I can open out in a circle, and then I drive the shoulder down. It's going to help break him down. So those are the main points of contact here, and control from the front headlock position, right, which is the same on the other side. I'll just switch back and forth. If you needed to change sides, or he's got a strong side, or he starts to get in on the single leg, I'm just going to go shoelaces. So if he gets 2-on-1 here, I still have my hand, my chin strap side hand in, and then I'm just going to push into him, put my weight back down. He's broken down, and then I come back up to the regular front. First attack we're going to do is the Darce. So the Darce entry is from the armpit with the choking arm around the far side of the neck. Vice the Anaconda, which comes from the neck side. So the choking arm comes from the neck side, and then it's clamping the shoulder and the far side. Darce enters from behind the armpit, so I'm coming through the armpit, and then I'm collapsing the neck on the far side. So let's go through the first attack. We're going to use the Darce. I'm going to show the footwork from this side first. Turn. Go back to the regular side so it looks the same. So first attack, using the Darce, I have to get around to where I can turn my spine. So we'll show this angle first so you can see the footwork and the movement involved. Knee comes over, step, turn my shoulder. So I'm trying to get my outside ear connected here to my opponent's back and have my choking arm come all the way through on the back of the arm. Here, maybe he's moving. I control his movement. It's go time. Reach through. Change. Now my knees switch. Turn this way. So I'll do the same motion from here. Now we'll look for the hands. I'm looking to have my hand exit with my fingernails visible to me from this side. So I'm going to end up connecting my hands. Tricep control, knee, step, switch, punch through. I can see my fingernails. I'm going to go into a gable grip. I prefer the gable grip, but you can also use an S grip here. Gable grip, and I'm going to keep his head close. I don't want his head to be able to circle out from the inside. So if he tries to pull his head out, back towards me, here, I have to be able to stop his head, but I don't want to lose the leverage that I get with my forearm. So I'm going to keep it nice and close. So our next step here, we'll stay on this side just so you can see how to get him down to the mat. I transition, I'm almost perpendicular to his spine. I can see his fingertips, my ears touching. I'm going to connect my hands with my forearm on the back of his head, and I'm going to drive his forehead under the same side armpit that I'm on. At the same time, I'm going to push with my outside foot when I'm connected over here. I'm going to get my opponent down to the mat. Pull, push. He flops over. As soon as he flops over, don't lose connection. Stay tight here. Hands should never break apart. Drive the elbow. I can reinforce this by pulling my fingertips up. Drive the elbow, pulling the fingertips. I'm still connected. I slide along the armpit, or excuse me, my hand. I get my hand as high as I can on his back. This creates a really strong figure four lock. From here, to finish, once you get the figure four lock, it's not just a brutal squeeze. Trying to be efficient here. I'm going to pull my elbow down to my side. Pull really hard. Not really hard, but you're pulling here, which feels like it's really hard because you usually touch yourself. And just trace your body with your elbow. So I dive through, see my fingertips, connect my hands. I pull his crown of his head while I push. Elbow, I'm tight here. My fingers are up high. Slide, hands up high. Now I'm going to pull my elbow. Once I pull my elbow, it's going to start increasing that pressure on both sides of both carotids. My hand up. If I leave my hand down low, I'm not going to get the same torque, so it's same pressure. So as I go to pull, I'm just going to be pulling my arm into the back of his head. I'm not really going to be finishing. Close the lock. Rotate the elbow. Once the elbow is rotated, if he's not finishing, turn just a little bit. In the lock position, I can drop a hip. Turn a little more. So I'm going to drop my low hip, and it's going to push my chest into his arm, which is putting pressure on this near side carotid artery. So I push my chest into it a little bit more. If his hand is up high and he starts to block right away, as I come in here, I'm going to leave my downside knee, so my left knee in this case, on the mat. I go active toes. I'm going to turn my hip up, pull him into me, knee to the head, and then now I have the arm captured. So I can start to settle. And that's if he goes to the defense. If you're tight enough on the grip, they're not going to be able to stop that anyways, even with the hands up. What you really don't want is the hand coming up all the way over the back. Yeah. Okay. One more time. Go through it. All right. Let's go from this side. And that's the Darce from the front headlock. Okay. All right. So, continuing on from the front headlock position, again, we got our chin strap, tricep control, whether it's inside or out. For me, I prefer the outside when I'm going to attack, the inside when I'm trying to really establish a strong control. If he's able to bring this elbow back in easier, and he's a much stronger opponent, I might just throw my hand to the inside for control to keep me pinned to him, especially if they're much bigger and they start rotating. And of course, you can just switch if you need to, right? Pulling here. If I can get the arms separated, this is easier for me to hold here, like here where my elbow is out. I don't feel as strong. Pulling here where I get to connect my elbow to my side as I'm pulling. Chin strap, shoulder pressure over the back of the neck, arm control or tricep control with that deep monkey paw. And this time we're going for an anaconda, so I'm already here with my choking arm on the chin strap. I've already made contact with one side of his carotid artery. So I will need to get my hand all the way through and get the lock. Traditionally, or how I learned, I don't know necessarily if it's traditionally, but it's how I learned originally, was to connect with a gable grip, locking off here and pulling the elbow out of the way to get the lock first before I roll through. Recently I found that in the roll I'm losing hand position, and I learned a new way of getting to a hug first. So I turned to this hug position, which is really, really strong. Notice that my choking arm, the one that's going by the neck, is making contact with my bicep, not the other way around where I'd be inside and outside with my choking arm. So I'm inside, and then I'm grabbing my elbow on the other side like this. When I'm here, this is where I'm just pulling my elbows nice and tight, keeping that pressure on the shoulder, or on the back of the neck, excuse me, and I get to maintain control. It makes for a really strong position. To get there, I'm just doing a little bit of a shift back towards my choking arm and punching my fingers through. Connect, connect, and I'm pulling to me just a little bit. Not enough to where I'm going to wear myself out, but enough to maintain control. So if he starts to try and stand up or do a push-up out of this, I can just sprawl and bring him back down and control him. If he circles, it's going to be really hard because I'm controlling his shoulder so tight to his neck. He can't really rotate at his neck. So as long as I have a good base and good balance here, where I'm not putting my legs together and he can turn me or sit through. So I get my hug here. I want to throw my head down underneath. Not really throwing, but I'm going to roll. As I do that, I'm going to switch my hips all in one motion. Throw. Rolls him over. I start to bring my hips closer, but I don't lift. I'm not walking. I'm not chasing his hips. I have my hand locked without letting go of anything. As I come over, I'm going to quickly put my hand up high. I connect near my face, and then with the same finish as before, where I'm just pulling my elbow down to me, I'm going to rotate that elbow down, pull that elbow to me, and connect. Okay? That puts a lot of pressure on both sides of the carotid artery, one with his own arm and shoulder, and then the other with my arm that's making connection with the other side. All right, one more time from this position, make the connection, my hand comes up high, and I'm finishing. If he has his hands on his hip, on my hip here, trying to block, he's not really trying to break with elbow position here at the figure 4, and he's just putting his hands on the hip. I don't have to stress about it, but I can just turn my hip up a little bit, and I'm going to push the back of his head forward into the choking arm here. So as I pull my elbow down, I'm just going to lift my hips. Makes for a quick finish.
That would hurt.
All right, so one more time and one motion here. Get my control, a little bit of a shift. I come through, bear hug, put my head under, switch, roll through, lock, finish. If he's got his hands on my hip, I just lift my hip. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go through from the same position, but we're going to go through on the other side. We'll roll through slide this way. Okay. That way you can see a little bit different angle here. Get control, shift, get my hug, tuck my head, switch my hips, hide the hand. Lift the hips a little bit to bring the head in. All right. Turn back around, go back to the original spot. All right. So now the Anaconda. So now let's talk about him breaking his elbow. So we're gonna roll through. We roll through one more time. Here, get my hug. Nice and get tight control. But as I get here, before I'm able to come up, he starts to lift his elbow to try and break the hug that's already there. So I'm going from here, the hug, he starts pulling his elbow down to his hip. I'm going to use him for control and balance. I'm going to bring my feet up into a pike position and catch his elbow that's now pulling down with the inside of my top leg. I'm in my hug. I haven't been able to come up yet. I still have the control position. He starts pulling the elbow down. Here, I'm going to come up, capture his own elbow. Now I swing my hand and finish. One more time. He's going to pull his elbow up right away. Front headlock position, shift, hug, get my hug, come through, block, he starts pulling his elbow. Yes! And finish. Alright, now, what happens when you go to tuck your head and he has a base, or he slides the knee out, or he settles his hips really heavy, or might have a harder time hitting him through. So from my hug, if I go to try and roll right now, maybe he's really wide compared to me, and I'm trying to come through, but I can't get him to turn over easy. I don't want to have to work that hard anyways, so I'm going to use a little different technique to get him down to the mat. I'm actually going to push on his head, similar to how we did the Darce entry with our hands, with our hands like this, and folding his head under, but I'm going to use my knee. So, front headlock, shift, hug. Now, I'm going to step up with my right knee to the crown of his head, and then I'm just going to flop him with the same position. So step up with both feet, come through, same finish as before, rotating the elbow back behind me. Turn around. From this side, we'll see the same thing. I'm going to put this knee to the back of his head after I've established my hug. I get my hug, I step up, my knee goes to the back of his head, make the connection and finish.
I still can't get over that Anaconda.
So, if our opponent starts chasing us with or walking away from us, this finish still works. So this next example, we're going to go through the same technique, but this time RJ is going to try and get away from you with his hips. So usually you're trying to connect your legs after you get to that position to finish. Okay. So let's turn around, we'll go back to the original side.
You want to talk about which way?
Just move away from my hips, okay, right? Just like you don't want me to get finished up. So you're going to put your hands up high on my hips, and we're just going to go through the finish. I'm just going to try and walk away from me to bring my hips closer. But you can still get the finish just by pulling the elbow back. So even if he puts his hands up, it's not well defended from that position because it's so deep to begin.
So there's no need to like curl over like we used to be taught to curl over.
No. Not with that. You're already so deep with that hug to begin with. As long as you shifted early on, your arm is going to be far enough through that when you bring your hand up for that figure four lock, you're already too deep. You're already on both carotids, both arms are going to be connected on both sides, right? Of the neck. And you're just pulling the elbow. It's not really pulling, I guess rotating like this, right? So I'm close up here, right? Yeah. We got two sides of contact, right? One through your arm and one through the neck. And then you're just closing off this space. So if you look at the size here, it gets smaller and smaller as I pull it back behind me.
It's like doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, closing.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Good. Yeah, I think so.
I'll turn this one off.